Hey everybody, and I'm sorry that if I look kind of sleepy, I did take a little cat nap and had the alarm set. Otherwise, I may not be here now. I'd still be back there on the couch. Hey, Super Batman nerd. So, welcome to this. Won't be our final, hopefully, horror on TV episode, but this is going to be the final episode of the Tales from the Crypt discussion. And then TJ and I will be starting on the Crypt Show series, which I have all of them that are currently available now. I think I don't know what season they're on now, what the fifth, fourth, fifth, something like that. Um, so we're going to start with season one. And there are only 12 episodes in this, so I guess we'll do 6 and 6 and just make it even. Hey, Blissful. And just want to remind everybody I'm planning on doing a Seductive Poison, the Resurgence tomorrow night. I'm actually going to do another triple threat review show. And just so you guys are in the know, I'm going to be reviewing Alligator, Alone in the Dark, and American Gothic. So if you haven't seen any of those, I'm not going to give away all the goodies of the ending, but I am going to talk about them. So let's see. And Friday will be another midday with Dana and Jay. I've still got to work out all the details with Jay about what we're going to be talking about. But as Jay says, you never know what we might end up talking about on these episodes. Saturday and Sunday, got a couple of watch alongs. Reanimator will be Saturday, starting at 7 p.m. Eastern Time. And Sunday will be Roadhouse, also starting at 7 p.m. Eastern Time. And you get a bonus if you tune into the Dead Pit channel later in the evening. Me and Uncle Bill will be talking about rape revenge films. So if you're at all interested in hearing us talking about those types of films, then be sure to tune in for that. There's also a movie Munchie Sunday. My week and weekend's going to be filled. For those of you that have not seen the thumbnail for it, I know it's wrong. The thumbnail is so wrong, but it's so right at the same time. Blissful and I were actually giggling about that like a couple of schoolgirls. I'm going to be doing Squeal Like Pigs in a Blanket in honor of Deliverance. So if you haven't checked out that thumbnail, check it out. It'll be sure to bring a smile to your face. If you're having a rough day or something, you might want to check out that thumbnail. But anyway, I'm going to go ahead and add TJ here. Hey, TJ.
How goes it, Dana? How's it going?
Good, except I'm tired.
Hi, chat. How you doing?
We got 7 in here now. We got a couple of people chatting, but there's some, what do you want to call them, looky-loos, or I don't like to call them lurkers or anything like that, because that, I don't know, that that has bad connotations to me. But anyway, so we're actually going to be talking about an animated episode, because the last episode of the final season of Tales from the Crypt is an animated episode, and TJ had already given me the heads up on that. It's a really, we're going to get to it, but it's a really different take on the Three Little Pigs story. Um, so I'm curious to see what TJ thought of that one. But
Which is
are
ironic
you?
because they did the Tales from the Crypt cartoon. So
Yeah, they did. I used to watch the Crypt Keeper cartoon too. I remember enjoying it on I guess it came on Saturdays. That's when I remember watching my cartoons was Saturdays. But did you watch it, TJ, as
Yeah.
well?
They took some of the original stories and they like made them for kids. So it was less
Tamed them to way
violent,
down.
murder. Yeah, I was like, okay. Um,
Yeah, I don't think the show would have. I don't know how long it lasted. Do you remember how long?
I think it was like a year,
Okay,
and then they brought it back in 1999 for a short period of time, but it didn't like.
didn't take off. Then I guess
Yeah, it had okay, it had 2 seasons, and then they brought it back, yeah, they had 1 season and then they brought it back, so they technically had 2 seasons. But yeah,
do you feel like it had run its course as a even a show by then, and it just
I think
maybe
for a kids show it was hard to do. You
yeah.
couldn't do a horror show for kids. They'd have to totally change the whole idea of it. Probably come up with new stories, 100%. They might have did that in the second when they brought it back, but yeah, I just didn't back then. Kids didn't want to watch a
I mean, I thought it was cool, but
yeah.
I
I mean,
was
kids were
older
watching Are You
too.
Afraid of the Dark, and they were watching more adult kind of, I don't know.
So we'll go ahead and get started with the first episode of this group, and that's Report from the Grave. Of course, um, Tales from the Crypt remained in the UK for the remainder of the episodes, with the exception of the Three Little Pigs episode.
Yeah,
But the rest of them,
I don't even think they have any British voice people. They have
I don't, yeah,
Bobcat Goldthwait plays the wolf,
plays the wolf. Yeah. I was
and
like, yeah, I know that voice.
and one of the voices was the guy who does Tigger. At least does Tigger now.
Oh, wow. Okay. I did not know that.
Mm, yeah,
But the Report from the Grave, I know Jonathan Firth. That name sounds familiar to me. I don't know where. And it was written and directed by William Malone. So, do you know anything about Jonathan Firth, TJ? Because I don't know, that name's familiar to me, but I just couldn't place him.
not really. And I didn't even looking up his credits. I'm like, yeah, he did TV.
Maybe that was just a false memory or something that I had that I remember that guy.
He was in yeah. He did all I see TV stuff. I don't remember him in anything.
Okay.
Um,
Um,
Voyager.
so by this point in time, we were in 1996.
Yep.
This actually came out on my mom and dad's anniversary, their wedding anniversary, which
Happy anniversary.
yeah, their wedding anniversary is June 14th. We have a lot of things in my family in June. My birthday is the 6th, my brother's is the 29th, my parents' wedding anniversary is the 14th.
Mhm.
Um, you have Father's Day in June, of course. So, a lot of things in June. But anyway, back to the episode. I was starting to warm up to these episodes. I know last week I said that I didn't much care for them, but as me and TJ started talking about, it, I was like, yeah, I guess I did like that one.
This one was my favorite out of this season.
Was it? I thought it had a very creepy quality to it.
It was Hammer, very Hammer esque,
Yeah,
um,
exactly.
which was a rip off of Universal Studios, so you get that too. But because it's England, it's definitely Hammer. And the stories are very like it's a love story, sort of. And the endings, I mean, not the ending's bad. It's just it's not a love story type of like. Um, it's not a well, it's Tales from the Crypt. It's not going to be a happy
Mm.
ending.
And when they show, I'm going to give this away a little bit. When they show supposed ghosts, that kind of reminds me. And were they doing this, TJ, at this time on movies, on horror movies, where when they would show a ghost, they would move real fast, like they'd go like that. They would do that real fast.
This was about the time they were starting to do that.
And I always thought that was creepy. And then the
Yeah.
addition of adding that to this episode made it even better, I think. But I'm going to turn it over to TJ to start talking about it. And do you want me to do the stopwatch thing, TJ, or are you going to handle that duty?
I mean, all right, I can try. We'll see what happens.
I mean, I can turn mine on. We hadn't really been going that far over on any of the episodes lately anyway, but
Well, then it's like I have to do two things at once, like talk and then pay attention.
that's okay. I can stop. I can.
I always wanted to learn how to play the drums, but I know my hands can't do two things. It's impossible.
Well, I can take care of the stopwatch. You just go ahead and start
Yeah,
talking when you get ready.
I can do the like clap. I can do that kind of. Okay. Well, I like that it opens up with the Crypt Keeper. He's a southern farmer trying to grow some dead crops, and and it's the funniest. Like he's like, I'm planting some artichokes, and artichokes are the hardest thing. And he grabs a guy and he starts shaking him, and he goes, "Come on, Artie, die, choke." You know, he's like, "Die already." I thought that was a great play on the words and everything. So yeah, which has nothing to do with the episode. So we start out with I forget everybody's name.
What was that guy's name in the?
And of course, I get confused with IMDb because sometimes it doesn't put the first actor first. So I'm like, well, these guys, they're British and they look the same to me. Is Elliot? He's the main guy, right? Yeah, Malcolm's the friend. Okay. So Elliot is he takes his girlfriend, or I don't think it's his wife, but his girlfriend, who they're both in school, I think, and and she's like, I'm not just here for the hell of it. Like I know things too. Like she's smart too. So his thing is he has this machine and it's able to read the thoughts of the dead. So they break into this crypt. And they put the machine on the head of this mass murderer, killer, crazy guy. And I'm just going to cut to... She ends up dying. I'm going to just cut the cut to the chest. She ends up dying, and he wants to bring her back from the dead. Mm-hmm. He has this book that the dead guy had written, and it's all this, like, this mumbo-jumbo Book of the Dead type of not incantations, but like what he did and his diary and all that weird stuff. There's also this other book that a friend of his had, which was supposed to be which was the lost book of the killer, and his friend found the book for him, and that's where he figured out, all right, I can bring the dead back with all this. So he uses dead bodies to basically use it to bring his girlfriend back from the dead. But unfortunately, he also brings back the killer. Yeah. Whose ghost is the one that does all the shaky head, and then it's like, all that weird stuff. And so, but he doesn't know that at first. So he brings his girlfriend back from the dead, and they have a passionate love making session. I forget. There's no nudity really in it. There's an episode that's coming up that has a whole. Like, we'll get to it. And my reaction was when we watched it. When I watched it. Anyway, he has this passionate love affair and love session with his girlfriend, and she tells him if the machine is turned off. Because he's like, oh, now that you're back, we'll go off together and whatever. She's like, I can't leave the vicinity of the machine. If the machine's turned off, I go back to, I guess she's in hell because of the. That's unfair. I always think that's unfair when you have to go to hell because you're killed by somebody who's a demon from another. It's not your fault. I don't know why you're. Anyway, so she's like, if you shut off the machine, I'll have to go back. And then we find out that the ghost demon is back from the dead because he followed her. he let her. So he let the guy make the machine work again, and it's basically the ghost's plan was
Yeah,
to get him
to
to
be able to come
he didn't
back.
want her back, so he planned. All right, I know he'll do this, and one of those evil plans. Except he's making the plan from the pits of hell. Uh, so yeah, but then we find out that the killer's back, and he kind of like um, kidnaps her, and the boyfriend is forced to basically choose between, um, you know, uh, sending everybody back, and he'll lose her, or let them just run around and destroy the world, basically, because it always leads to destroying the world. Nothing like. um, so yeah, so he ends up destroying the machine. And then he can't live without her anymore, so he kills himself. The cops call him, and they're like, to call the friend, and the friend Malcolm, and the friend's like, have you read this diary of my friend? And it's telling all the things he was doing, and it's like, oh, that's a ravings of a lunatic, bringing back the dead and all that stuff.
Yeah.
Um, now earlier on, she had when they were in the tomb catacombs, she had was professing her love, and she drew this little heart on his hand. She's like, "You
Yeah.
should always have my heart in your hand," um, you know, crap like that. And um, so at the end, when he comes, when they all look at him in the dead body, he had cut his throat, and there's a close up of him after they show his throat is slit, and they do a close up, and you can see his throat moving, and I was like, couldn't they have shot that again? And
Yeah. Yeah. Or shot it in a different
take
way.
a while. So he and they notice the little hearts painted on the is etched in the like the fog from the hot bath on the wall, and the other cop is like, so that's from outside.
Yeah.
How is it possible? Everything was closed in here and sealed. And you see the hearts sort of start to like disappear, and
Hmm.
that's basically the end of the episode. So it's hinted at that he's now in the other world, and his friend Malcolm says, "Oh, now him and her are off fighting the demons together," which is like sort of like a kind of sweet poetic ending to the
Hmm.
fact that everybody died. So
I thought there was a little bit of Shakespeare in there too with the Doom lovers, because she ended up having to go back to hell or whatever, and
yeah,
he killed himself because he couldn't have her anymore.
yeah,
And so that was something that I thought about. That's kind of Shakespearean. The whole love affair really was Shakespearean, I felt like. Um and I mean, Shakespeare had things like, I think he had ghosts in some of the stories, and witches, and
oh yeah,
all kinds of things in there. So I don't know for sure if that's what they were, going for, but I saw it in there anyway.
yeah,
But I was like TJ. This one, I don't know if it was my favorite of all of them, but it was up there because I was like, well, this is getting back to brass tacks here. This is getting back to like the good gritty Tales from the Crypt type stuff. And what I really envisioned a perfect series being is a lot of episodes like this. I mean, it's also very dark, but it just works.
yeah.
It works on all the levels. I don't think there were any ridiculous parts or weak parts in it. The only thing I wanted to ask TJ about this
Sure.
too, I didn't entirely trust his friend, because why did his friend take his diary when he was like just out of it? Why did he? I mean,
Yeah,
was
that
he
was a little thing. I was like, is he possessed like from the by the ghost? But it was just sort of like a weird character thing, I guess, where he just looked a little. That's like
or is he gonna go to the cops and tell them that he killed his girlfriend? Or it's all here in the diary.
it was weird. That's like if Happy Birthday to Me went with the original ending, you'd be like, why is your friend making all these weird like devious faces all the time? Like it fit in perfectly. I'm gonna guess that's why they made her the killer at the end, is because oh, she's doing all these weird looks. Maybe we'll change the ending and have her be like sort of the
I know why she made one of those faces. And did you know the story about when they all come out on the lawn and Rudy has been missing, and they find that skull that turns out to belong to one of the departments at the school,
yeah.
and there's a shot of her, and she's looking really pissed off. And it's because one of the extras in that scene was, I guess, pressing up against her, trying to get up in front so he could be filmed. And he was almost pushing her over. And so that's why she looks pissed off like
Yeah.
that. Because I guess she wanted to tell that guy, will you stop doing that? She was really irritated. But so TJ, did you want to talk about differences in the comic and the episode?
Yeah. Now I can't remember what the hell. Where is it? No, report from the grave. Um. Oh yeah. It was about these men who had a thing called the Undertakers Society or something like that, where they would dig up bodies and they would do weird things with them. It's that, I guess that idea is kind of close, but other than that, it's really not much to do with this episode. I mean, that's pretty much the concept of the story.
I
Um,
guess maybe they didn't want to do like back in those days, they couldn't have shown much like a love scene or a sex scene. They couldn't show much anyway
yeah,
back then. So it probably would have been a moot point for them to even try to go that route.
but I mean, yeah, it was sort of. There's a bunch of older men too, and I think they wanted a younger kind of because all the younger people were watching it. Yeah, I think they aged up a lot. If you pay, they aged up a lot of um, situations, or they changed them. I've told you what they just even the title, like when the title makes no sense because the
So,
episode had nothing to do with the original story, so the title is the twist. Sometimes one of the episodes we'll get to is that the title is like they should have just changed the title and just said it was a new story. I mean, but yeah,
yeah, there have been several of them like that they should have just changed the title of it or
yeah.
did something.
It was a vault keeper story, and it's they're sort of a society named after the vault keeper. So there's always in jokes within the hosts mention talking about the episode. I mean I keep doing this episode comic book stories or whatever. And he's like, yes, this was about me. Like the one in the earliest season where it's the tales from the Crypt Keeper's origin story,
Yeah,
how it was in the actual comic book too. So
yeah.
yeah. Anyway, so yeah.
Okay, so the next episode has Daniel Craig. That was the big recognizable name for me. I was like, oh man, James Bond himself is going to be in this one. But
Now it's funny. He's like 24 or 25. He looks as old as he did later on when he played
exactly,
James Bond. And I'm like, he aged pretty well. Like you could barely tell he was this. Like if he looked, so the way he looked in that movie was his 20s, but in Tales from the Crypt he was actually in his 20s, and that was like what 10 years later at least. I mean, it was weird.
yeah, I don't know. Yeah, I thought the same thing when I saw him. I was like, he looks exactly the same.
He sold his soul to the devil.
But so I'm not sure. I'm assuming that Mandy Fletcher is a woman, but I could be wrong on that, because I've been wrong before.
Who?
But
Oh, the writer. Oh,
yeah,
I mean, the director. Yeah, yeah.
the director,
Yeah,
yeah.
I'm gonna guess it's Mandy.
But I'm not real, none of these other names jumped out at me. Well, Gail Honeycutt. Gail Honeycutt seems familiar. And of course, Daniel Craig, if you're, you know, at all into action movies or James Bond movies, you'll know who Daniel Craig is. Um, but this one's called Smoke Rings, and it's like it it's spelled very oddly. Is this the one that you were talking about? They should have changed the title, TJ, or is
No,
it
this one
another?
too. This is the later one, but yeah, this is also one like this. I don't. But did anybody smoke in the entire episode?
Ah,
The only thing I
I
can
re-
think of that smoky is at the end when they're in the basement.
yeah. I
But yeah,
don't think.
the title's weird. It made no sense.
I mean, the lady that was his boss for a little bit, did she smoke ever?
Maybe they're
But,
British. They always smoke.
but anyway, um, I enjoyed this one. This one to me was more of a crime like thing. It was, and had a lot of twists and backstabbing and all of that in here. But I enjoyed it. But I'm going to turn it back over to TJ.
I
Uh,
hated the ending
you hated the ending.
because it was stupid.
Well,
In my opinion, it was stupid.
that's okay. You can call them stupid. I've called some of them, less than great and stuff. So I'm gonna step away and grab me some Sunny D and let TJ
Help myself.
start talking about smoke room.
Okay, so yeah, I like the Crypt Keeper opens up with a Godfather parody. He's very, he's talking like this. I'm the Godfather, Crypt Keeper. Fredo, my son Fredo. That kind of, which I thought was funny. Um, so, yeah, smoke rings. So we start off with this. It's an ad agency. They do ads for this one. I guess they're doing ads for a chocolate bar or something like that. But I guess a general agency, advertising agency. Um, this woman is doing interviews for a new assistant or whatever, and all these people come in and they're just bothering her with their portfolios, and she's very bored, and she doesn't want to have anything. She's just sick of so many people, and they're all boring, and they don't seem interesting enough to hire. Even one of them works for the company. She's like, well, I've been working here for a long time. I think you should hire me. That kind of crap. And Daniel Craig comes in. He's sort of this young upstart. He's like, I don't have a portfolio. I don't know much about the business. I don't know anything. But you should hire me. And she ends up hiring him. They go into a meeting with, they have a client. And this guy, one of the other employees, he's like, well, I have all these paintings and blah, 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 and the youth will love these. And Daniel Craig's character is like, yeah, it's just a bunch of shit. Your stuff sucks. I don't know how you have a job here. It's like his first day because she hires him right away. And she hires him because he's a good-looking guy. She could care less about what his qualifications are because he doesn't have any qualifications.
No, he doesn't have much of anything except his looks, I guess.
That's one of the things that annoyed me. It's like I like the story, but it's just his character is and the women are supposed to be sort of the stronger characters, and they're just this guy is coming in. He's just he makes a few eyes at the women, and they're just melting. And I'm like, that's a little you're saying that
Well, that did ring
women
false.
can't control their panties. I'm sorry. I mean, but Anyway, we find out he was he was in jail, and Jacqueline is the boss lady who hires him. Had sort of pushed the other guy out and took over, his part of the company. I guess she owns it. At first, I wasn't sure because I thought the woman at the advertising gig was like the one who owned it, but she was just a client. So I got a little confused, and I was like, "Oh, okay, that's right." So
Yeah.
she pushed the other guy out of the company, and he wants revenge. Now he had created this device that he gives to Daniel Craig's character, and is like, okay, this will control people, and it'll like, how advertising is supposed to make you like, oh, there's a picture of a Coke, it's going to make me want to drink a Coke, that kind of thing. The machine is supposed to make you just go gaga over whatever the items are. But he does tell you it won't make you do something you don't want to do. So these people already want the chocolate bar, they already want the Coke, they already want blah, blah, blah. Which was very, if you ever saw the Josie and the Pussycats movie, that's sort of the villains thing is they're trying to take over the world by controlling people's minds with this subliminal advertising, which I thought, oh, this is, they Josie and the Pussycats ripped this off. Anyway, so yeah, he wants revenge on the woman who threw him out of the company. So but that's another thing too that confused me. You have to be in a certain vicinity of the device for it to work. And so how do you do a mass campaign that's going to be a billboard that's shown across the world, and you got to be holding the machine everywhere you go because it doesn't have a big range. So I was like, okay, but story short.
Yeah, and when we get to the ending, it was like, I don't think they were going to really continue that anyway.
So they try to get the co-worker earlier who was being like humiliated. They try to get him to kill Jacqueline, and he's gonna stab her, but he stops because even though the machine's on, he doesn't, he really doesn't have the guts to kill her, or doesn't want to really kill anybody. So Daniel Craig decides he's gonna kill her himself. And the conceit of this stuff too is what makes me not like the ending that much. So anyway, then he goes down to the guy in the basement and he's like, "I killed her," and the guy's like shocked that he's like, he didn't even think he'd have that he'd want to kill him, and then he tries to kill the old guy, and then he's saved by the coworker, who was in on it from the beginning.
Yeah.
And then he thinks the cops are chasing after him, and he goes to the one of the offices, and he's trapped because the cops are like right out the door. He decides to fall to his death. And earlier on, when the guy who creates the machine was showing Daniel Craig how it worked, he made him see rats because in prison he gained a fear of rats because he obviously was in a shitty prison that had a lot of rats. So he shows him he's scared by the rats. So later on, when the cops come, if you're really thinking, you're like, are these cops real? Well, he thinks the cops are real. He jumps out the window, crashes on this car, and I've never seen in real life somebody falling out like maybe a 10-story window and landing on a car. I think it should have been bloodier, and his face should have been more smashed.
Yeah.
But it's handsome Daniel Craig, so we
Yeah, they're not going to do that to Daniel Craig.
Yeah, I can't make it look too ugly. And then who comes out? The Jacqueline comes out, the co-worker dude, the scientist dude, and also the client from earlier on. This was all to show the client how the machine worked and what it could do, and how you could just make anybody go crazy and do something stupid because of a fear or whatever. And the ending is where I was like, really? Because even with the conceit, it's a story, it's a short story. We're not going to have major plot, explanations, but it's like, you had the hope that he wasn't really going to kill Jacqueline and he wasn't really going to kill the scientist dude. So how do you know he wasn't going to kill them? And the whole ending would have been like, really? So the whole ending for it to be, they planned this all from the beginning. It just was like too convoluted for me. And that's where I was just like, Oh, I liked it up until the ending. I just
And what kind of person as a client would go along with this? That
that
hey, there's a chance that this guy is going to kill himself.
yeah. Well, they didn't care about that.
Yeah,
But I mean,
but there were no good people in this story.
no, Daniel Craig, the next Khan, is going to kill two people. Yeah, it's like okay, sure.
Yeah, there was really nobody to root for
Yeah.
in this.
And as far as comeuppance that people usually get in these stories is like, who really got anything that they deserved fully? I mean,
Yeah,
but
no.
whatever.
So yeah, this was a weak story. Um, Daniel Craig or no Daniel Craig, it was
Yeah.
still a weak story.
Acting
Thank.
was good. The acting was good.
Hmm.
If the reveal was a bit of reveal, but then they have one of those. It's not a freeze frame, but you get one of those ending of a sitcom where everybody's like
Yeah,
for way too long, and
they're
then
they're walking off arm in arm. They're like, oh, we're buddies.
yeah, it was so stupid. I was like, oh, you had me up until the end.
Mm. I'm beginning to fall in line with TJ on this. The ending was stupid.
Thanks.
the more we're talking about it and stuff like that, it's stupid. Um, Weak story. Um, yeah, like TJ said, the acting was fine, except some of these characters were overly obnoxious assholes,
Yeah.
basically. But other than that, um, but I'm curious what kind of differences we got in the comic and the episode.
Okay, it's still about an advertising company, um, and it's about a machine, but not the same kind of machine. So it's I think what it's funny too in the comic. It's called the Llama Cigarette Company. Get it? Llama.
Oh yeah.
It's a play on the words, which I thought that was more clever than
Hmm.
anything in this episode. So this sort of mousy guy comes in who's a you know um, whatever you call what what are they called something, I don't know. What was Darren Stevens? What was his job? What was he called?
Oh Lord.
Advertiser. Yeah, I couldn't think. I think
Yeah. Is
I
it
can't think
just
of normal, I can't think of
advertiser?
normal words, much less people's names. But yeah, so this advertiser dude comes in with his machine, and it's a machine that uses steam to create perfect smoke rings, and it's for this advertising for this smoking for this cigarette company, which is perfect.
Which
And
the title makes absolute sense for that.
yes, it fits exactly. Um, so the but it's sort of the same thing where it's this he's a man and this he the executive is this sort of powerful woman, and he's sort of he's very timid, so he's like, oh, a woman, and this is the 50s, so like a woman as the boss, oh, I don't know what to do. Because guys can be the wimpiest people in the world. I don't know how we run the world, but anyway. So he has the thing. She thinks it's great, but she's going to tell everybody it was her idea. But he's
Mhm.
going to get all the money, all the accolades, at least financially, even though she'll get all the credit for finding the device to make the smoke rings. So she starts dating him to sort of get all of his ideas, and so he'll sort of like do whatever she wants, kind of. And then at the end, near the end, she kills him because he's getting too like I'm going to tell everybody what you did and what you did to me and how you lied and everything like that. So she kills him. She throws him into the vat of liquid that makes the steam. So it's like later that day or the next day, they're unveiling the big billboard with the smoke ring thing, and it starts to work. And then the smoke rings sort of start like attacking her and enveloping her, and like she burns. They burn her to death with the steam, the smoke from the temperature from the steam. Melts her, or burns her to
That
death.
sort of reminds me of the episode where Bruce Davison gets turned into soap, basically, and then his wife and her skin ends up burning off.
Yeah, yeah. I think they sort of. I don't know who wrote this, but I'm gonna guess they watched the other episodes and said, "Well, let's do that again, but differently." Which is what I mean. Horror movies nowadays, they just take something that's already been done and they like slap a new. That's what I mean. Why do remakes when you're just gonna make a movie that's gonna be like another movie? You're just using a remake to sell it by the name, and it's like you can just do a movie and rip off another movie because that's what people are doing nowadays. But not to get on a tangent on that one, but yeah. So that was a little bit more like you have strong women, and she stays, even though she's conniving and a liar, but she stays strong throughout the episode, the story. But how, like I said, in the episode on the crypt, it's like because a man comes in, even though at the end it was all
Right.
fake and a ruse. It's just like, okay, you're like I said, your panties are getting too. Anyway, yeah. So that was that one.
Okay, so moving on to About Face. Now, I like this one.
Yeah, I like this one too.
I really like the twist at the end because I was kind of thinking it might turn out this way, but
It was a
boy,
twist.
yeah, yeah, exactly. But
Literally.
boy, the way they did it, I think was sort of crafty.
Yes.
But this is About Face. Um, And for those of you sensitive to um priests doing naughty things that they shouldn't be doing with young women, you might want to stay away from this one because there's a little bit of that in here.
I'm Italian. I know all about it.
But I'll let TJ start talking about face.
So we have this guy who's a preacher, and he had his wife, and this girl comes to their house and says, "I'm your daughter. You had an affair with one of your servants or whatever, and I'm your daughter now, and I have my sister here, who's my twin sister, and we're here for you to basically support us, basically." Um, And his wife's pissed off, but then she's like, "Yeah, I knew you were doing this, dude. I knew you've been diddling the maids and the cooks and all the women servants and whatever." I mean, very religious man, but he's a minister, right? Because ministers can get married, priests can't. Which that's another thing. It's like
Yeah,
forcing
well,
people.
they call him a priest in the plot
Okay,
in the
that was
plot
different in
synopsis,
this is set
but
in like the late 1800s, early 1900s, or something like that. I don't know.
yeah,
I guess it was different.
I that's what I was thinking too. I didn't think priests were supposed to
Yeah.
have wives and stuff. So
I mean, they should. If they did, maybe that stuff in the Catholic Church wouldn't have happened. You know what I'm saying? Okay. Anyway, so one of the daughters is deformed. She looks like she kind of reminds me of a cross between. No, it's like
she sort of reminded me
what's the
of
guy?
Reagan from The Exorcist.
Yeah, she's definitely like a Reagan, but also Reagan and the character in Prince of Darkness, who when she gets possessed by
Oh
the son
yeah,
of Satan, she's all like bloody and her skin's all peeled off and everything like that.
right.
She looks like she just had one of those facials where you have to wear a bandage for like a week. Um, and the sister's very like he doesn't want us. He doesn't want to take us in. She's very the form sister is very super extra religious. She's like
Yeah,
quoting Bible scriptures and you're cheating on your wife. You're an evil person and she doesn't like anybody. Let's put it that way.
nope.
She's like the extreme, and the wife is just like this girl is crazy. I really don't want her around, but she's sort of um, just kind of like okay, whatever. Um, until he brings in the secretary, this pretty, beautiful, sexy secretary lady, as sexy as you could be in like the 1900s. I mean, it only goes like her dress only goes down to here. the collar and everything like that, and those skirts they used to wear. Anyway, it's like, ooh, she showed her ankles. I'm turned on, that kind of stuff. So he ends up having sex like right in the house where everybody's home.
Yeah.
He had sex with the
No discretion at all.
yeah. And the secretary, I think the butler walks in or leaves and knows what's going on or whatever, and then um, the wife finds out and she's mad at the husband, of course. And then the deformed daughter comes down. She has killed the secretary because you're not supposed to. It's a sin and all that stuff. And she confronts the stepmother. Like, you never wanted me here and blah blah blah. And she makes it look like the stepmother killed the girl. So the priest, because he's been such a stand-up guy until this point, kills his wife because she thinks he killed the secretary. So like, yeah, sure, whatever.
I'll just strangle her and kill her. It's
Yeah.
all right.
And he's like shocked. I'm like, well, you just strangled her. Of course she's dead. That's like in the one with the dude goes to who the episode where the guy gets the he inherits his father's burnt down house.
Yeah.
He kills everybody. It's like, okay, when he shoots the guy through the pillow and he has a shocked look, I'm like, you shot somebody with the pillow. I mean, what did you think was going to happen? He wasn't going to die? I mean,
yeah, because you used a pillow.
Yeah. So anyway, he's like, he goes to his other daughter and he's like, she's like, I saw you kill her and blah blah blah. And she tries to kill him. And then he finds out, that she killed it was actually the daughter who killed the secretary, and the daughter's trying to kill him. And they have this fight, and he ends up impaling her with, I thought maybe it's like a coat hanger or not a coat rack. It looked like, I guess, or what was it? Was it like a fireplace? Because it was like a
Yeah,
tall,
I don't know.
right?
How can I not remember? Because I just watched.
Yeah.
Well, he stabbed her with something.
Oh, it's a cross. It's a big
Mm,
cross. So it's very like religious exorcist type of imagery. Anyway, she's impaled with the cross, and as she's dying, her head starts to turn around, just like the Exorcist. And we see she was a conjoined twin, and the evil twin was the back of her head.
yeah.
So it was sort of like there was a He-Man figure that if you turn its head around, it was bad and evil. It was good and
Oh,
good.
yeah. I think I remember that one.
Because the head moves around slowly, so the back of her hair was hiding the evil part, and when she was the evil part, it was hiding the good part. Well, not evil necessarily. She wasn't evil. She was just like abused, and she felt, she was ugly, and she felt like she was evil because everybody was treating her that way. And it's a big shock because her head slowly turns around, and you see the other face. And it ends with him like, oh, what did I do? And then it's like you see half of their, like the head's turned halfway, so you see both sides of the face.
Right.
And it ends out like that. It was a great twist ending.
Literally.
Yeah.
Yeah, I really enjoyed it. Did you see the ending, the twist coming, TJ? Did you have any inkling?
I cheated because I read the comic book version first.
Okay.
I already knew what the ending was.
At least you're honest.
Yeah, I already knew what the ending was, so it was like, oh, okay, cool. Because
But
that was
yeah,
exactly the same.
but yeah, I liked it. I liked the twist. I'm almost sure I watched all the episodes of Tales from the Crypt, but it's been a long, long time since
I
I've
don't remember this from when the initial run.
That's what I was going to say too. I don't remember it, but something tells me I probably watched it.
Yeah.
More than likely, I just it's been so long ago. This was 1996. After all, I was a couple years out of high school at that point, and but I liked it, and it was enjoyable and creepy, and all the things that I like in it, and had a I thought a great twist um, at the end. But the only thing I wonder is, I know they were conjoined twins and stuff, but how did she keep her so hidden? That's, I mean, we literally never seen her except from the front.
Hmm.
When it was the one sister, and then I guess they just flipped around when
Well,
it.
there's a scene where she's talking to her, and you only see the one sister. It's like if she's in the back of the head, wouldn't the hair be moving a little bit or something? I think they cheated a little bit.
Yeah, that's the only thing. I think they cheated a little bit with that, but
I wonder if was it James Wan um, saw this and said, "I want to make Malignant," because I mean it's the creature in the back
mm,
of the head thing. I mean it's like
yeah, you're right.
I watch all these things and I'm like, we know nothing's totally original anymore. So did he watch this episode?
I think probably a lot of these directors in the last few years have watched stuff like this,
Yeah.
that, and whether they realize it or not, it might be subliminal or whatever. Some of it's blatant, but I
Yeah.
think sometimes people see stuff and it just gets trapped in their brain, and then when they're looking for ideas for something, they say, "Oh, I'll do this," and don't realize that you're digging through memories of when you watched these shows years and years ago. um but I'm wondering how, probably all the sex stuff with the priest and the ladies was probably either alluded to or left out completely. But I'm going to let TJ talk about the differences there.
Um, yeah, it's a totally the ending's the same. There's a twin. One's evil, one's good. That part's the same. The story's a little bit different. So in the story, it's about this couple. Their child is born. One of the children is deformed, so the mother keeps her hidden away. Um, so the father never sees the other daughter because she's deformed, and she keeps, like I said, she keeps her locked away. We only see the one pretty girl. So obviously, if you know, because we just talked about the episode, we kind of know why she's keeping her hidden away. Well, the wife ends up dying, and the father's like, "Well, I have to take care of my two children." Um, but the sister sort of is like, "Well, I'll take care of. I'm used to being with my sister. I'll take care of her and all that stuff." So we never see her, and then she finally appears to the father, and she's like, "You hate me because I'm ugly and deformed. You don't want anything to do with me." And he's like, "It's not my fault. Your mother was kept you hidden. I never had any say in it." And he's like, "Well, I still love you. And I'm not gonna hide you away. We're gonna go out in the world." So he takes her out to town, and of course everybody's run off by her looks, but she's very like the girl. She's not as upset as the girl in the actual episode. She's a little bit more like she's gonna give it a chance. She's not like everybody sucks and I hate everybody. Everybody should die kind of thing. She's more up to it. But then when everybody just is like, "Oh, you're ugly," and people are like shocked at her appearance and whatever, she even says to a little boy, "Oh, you don't like me? Oh yeah," and she starts like beating up the little boy. So the father's like, "I gotta take her away," and she's evil now because not because of the way she looks, which I like in the comic. It's a distinction. The father's not upset about the looks of the daughter. It's just the fact that she's violent. So
Right.
he's like, "I have to kill her." So he shoots the deformed sister, and she's like, "I love," she's not like, "Daddy, don't." And then she gets shot, and then it's revealed the same kind of way where her head turns around, and you see that the daughter is actually the same daughter, and it's just that they had conjoined twins. So the setup's different. There's none of that like I said, they're a married couple. There's none of that. He's not having an affair, so there's none of that. Um, I mean, of course, they need to make it a little bit more dramatic in the episode, so they added more stuff to it. But I like both stories work on their own, even though they're the same story.
Right. They had little differences in there, but
Because I would say if this is, I mean, it's technically a remake um, of the original story, and I think it's like one of those remakes that stays close to the, but it adds to it instead of just like, you know, we're not gonna argue about just remakes shouldn't be in the first place, but this was a different story. I mean, this was taking a comic and then turning it into a live action.
he kind of took the scandal out of it, though.
Yeah, yeah. Oh, except the daughter running through town, beating up children who called her disgusting and ugly. But you know, whatever.
So, moving on to the next episode, which is Confession, and has Eddie Izzard in this episode.
Yes.
And I saw the ending coming with this one too, from a mile away. But I think that it's just because of the amount of movies that I've seen that kind of have that similar plot. But I still liked it. It still didn't like take away from me liking the episode.
Izzard is the best part of it. He's so good in this.
Yeah, he is.
Eddie Izzard is now.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
Eddie Izzard has always been sort of gender fluid, is I guess the thing you call it. So he was like he would wear dresses and stuff like that, but then he would he'd also be a man. Now he's like you call me he or she, it doesn't matter.
At least he doesn't get bent out of shape if you use the wrong pronoun with him.
English people are a little bit more laid back in general, so I mean, yeah. But anyway.
But
It's really great in this. Everybody else is a little. They're not bad. It's just
they're slightly flat. When they.
Well, I don't want to just talk about the characters, and we haven't talked about the episode yet.
But I'll go ahead and let TJ start talking about Confession.
So there's been these string of murders. They don't know who's done it. The cops are talking about, oh, we're gonna figure out who the killer is, and blah blah blah, and they arrest Izzard's character. Evans is Izzard's name in this, and Evans is just washing his hands, and they're like, Sergeant, it looks like he has some blood on his hands, but we're not sure. So they bring him in for questioning, and we get this detective Jack Lynch, and I don't know who the actor is. I can't even pronounce. They're Irish. I think they're Irish. Are they Irish? Oh, Scottish. Scottish people's names are hard to pronounce because they're spelled.
Is it the name that begins with a C?
Yeah, Kieran Hins. I don't know how to pronounce his first name. Anyway, he's been in the Harry Potter movies and has done a bunch of stuff. He's good, but he's just a little like. He played it sort of like. Not spooky's the word. He's very like. Can you think of a word to describe the?
Well, he's pretty much an asshole, but
besides that, it's not like he's not obvious. But it's like he's a little bit off. Let's just say that he's a little off. And he's basically chastising Evans and just like it's all circumstantial evidence. He's basically trying to get a confession out of him because there's no real proof. There's no DNA. There's nothing to prove that he killed anybody. It's just a suspicion. Mm-hmm. And Jack Lynch is sort of the guy that he gets the confessions out of anybody, and no one gets away. It's like he's like Columbo or like Monk, where like he he knows what's going on, and he knows how to get confession, and he knows when someone's guilty. So he's trying to get this confession out. Um, and then there's one point, and Evans is like, "I didn't do it. You have no proof."
Mm-hmm.
And there's some funny in jokes. He's like, so the detective's going over his like what he does for a living. I see you're a writer. What's this? Tales from the Crypt? And he's like,
Yeah.
I wrote for that show a long time ago, but it's been canceled since then. Which is
Right.
funny because I don't know if they knew Tales from the Crypt was
It
canceled when they
was,
wrote that
yeah.
line, but it's hilarious.
I wondered that too if they knew that then.
But I mean, I love the. Yeah, he's like, yeah, that show was a bunch of shit, and like it was so stupid. They rewrote everything I did, which is also kind of funny because what they did with the EC comics is they rewrote them for the series, which I thought that's a lot of in comedy. He's like he's basically a horror writer.
Mhm.
Um, anyway, so they're like trying to get all the the evidence they can, but it's really not evidence. Like they're like, we found on your computer, there's like you're on these bestiality sites and these murder sites, and he's like, I'm a
And
writer.
all the stuff he rented, they talked about how much of a percentage was porn and stuff like that.
I mean, I bet you if you go on Stephen King's search history, there's a lot of weird stuff on his.
Yeah,
Uh,
exactly.
um, so anyway, or Clyde Barker, I'm sure there's a lot of weird stuff on there too.
Oh,
Uh,
oh my gosh, especially Clive Barker.
so so he calls up his girlfriend. He's like, "Yeah, honey, you should get pack a bag and go to your mother or your sisters or whatever." And there's that weird, there's that bag that's in my study. Just dump it somewhere.
Mm.
And when they're trying to show evidence, they get the bag that because they've overheard the conversation.
Well,
They
he
dump,
had the phone area bugged.
yeah, smart. Well, they're smart cops, even though they have really no evidence against this guy. So they open the container. And oh, by the way, the killer at the beginning, we see the dead body has a head missing. So the
Yeah.
killer takes the head. So it's very what's that movie with Gwyneth Paltrow? And what's in the bag? What's in the bag? What's that movie? Seven? Is that Seven?
Seven. That's what I was going to say. Is it seven?
Yeah. With
Uncle
Brad
Bill
Pitt.
would probably know he's in here.
Yeah. So anyway, that's what I was thinking. I was thinking of that. So anyway, they open the container, and there's this sort of like, you know, this head in a formaldehyde jar. It's very like, he even says, and as soon as it's revealed, uh, Evans is just like, it's like he's given up.
Uh
He
huh.
sees his face is just drawn, and he's just tired of the berating, and he's like, I knew you wouldn't understand. Oh, I saw it at a sideshow, and I thought it was funny.
It looked like something you'd get from Spirit Halloween, though.
It looked like he had fake teeth, and it was like I don't know if the glass was broken, but it looked like it was in two sections. It was just weird. And it's
Mhm.
like, oh yeah, I would think that you were up to something too if I found that in your house and you were trying to hide it. I mean, that was a
Yeah,
bad.
if you were, yeah, he shouldn't have tried to
Yeah,
hide it or anything.
he should have just stuck with it. It's all for research, and
Yeah.
so it's like and two of the other cops are talking. Well, we didn't have any evidence, so we had no real proof, but he got a confession anyways. And they're like, that's what he usually does. He knows how to get a confession out of people. So later on, and by the way, the other weird thing about this guy is the detective guy. He always carries around a bowling bag.
Yep. And he talks about bowling
Yeah,
all,
he's very into
all the
bowling.
time.
So anyway, like I said, he gets a confession, and we see the detective later at home, and he puts his bowling bag on the table. He opens it up. He takes off this piece, which is like the top of the bowling ball.
And
The,
it's all bloody.
yeah, and he takes out the severed head of the girl he killed earlier.
Hmm.
Puts it in the refrigerator with two other heads that have been there for a while because they're already like frosted over. And So he was the killer all along, and his quirky golf bag was where he put the heads. And I think that is creative, the putting the little top on it. So
Yeah.
if anybody looks in the bag, all they see is the top. No one's gonna pull it out and go,
Because there's one scene earlier where one of the other cops unzips the bag, and of course all you see is a bowling ball in there. And he he turns to the cop and says something about, didn't anybody ever tell you not to, something about checking out another guy's balls or messing with
something
another
like
guy's
that.
balls or something like that?
This is the very dry British humor that's not like overly like
Right.
goofball, not like Benny Hill,
Yeah.
Oh, Nicholas, look at her.
But again, I did like this one.
The acting was great. Izzard was the best part of it.
Yeah, he was my favorite part.
Even if you saw the ending coming, I mean, even in 7, you knew what the ending was. I mean, you knew what was in the bag. I
Hmm.
mean, come on.
Yeah, what else could be in the bag but
Yeah.
what was in there? So, um, but I'm kind of curious what direction they went with the comic with this one.
Yes. I was looking at something. No. Oh yeah, here we go. So I say the Crypt Keeper opens it up and he's a doctor. He's got this, the little mirror thing on his head, and he's in the white jacket. And like they were really good with the dressing up the Crypt Keeper. He's not just the Crypt Keeper like he was in the earlier seasons. I think it's more
Right.
fun because it fits more into the EC comics where he would dress up. They would all dress up, or they would allude to whatever's going on in the episode. So yeah. So in the original EC story, oh, I forgot. So um, Report from the Grave was Vault of Horror 15. Smoke Rings was Vault of Horror 34.
Hmm.
About Face was Haunt of Fear 27. Now Confession was Shock Suspense Stories number 4. So in that one, it's basically the same thing. A guy's picked up for murder. They berate him until he admits that he killed somebody, but he didn't really kill anybody. And at the end, we find out the detective. So in this, there's a little bit, actually, there is a difference. And the difference is in the comic, the detective's wife was murdered. So he has a stake in convicting this guy of killing because he believes this guy killed his wife. And gets a confession out of him. So at the end, we find out that the guy actually killed his wife, and he was just trying to find a scapegoat, and he bore this guy down until he admitted something he didn't do, and he basically was like, yeah, I guess I'll admit I did it, and yeah, so that's the big difference. Is there's a relationship between the killer and the victim.
Yeah.
It was actually his victim, and he hit her with a car, which is it's a different. There was no
Yeah.
head cutting off, which I thought.
Yeah. Nobody's getting their head cut off, and
Yeah.
people's not pulling heads out of bowling ball bags. And
There is something to Crypt. I mean, one of the comic covers was a guy holding a noose and holding a severed head.
uh-huh.
I mean, they cut off the comic cover, so you wouldn't see the neck any further than just like at the tip of the chin.
Yeah.
If you were smart, you'd realize it was a severed head. But yeah, there was stuff they couldn't get away with in the comic. But I thought that was both twists are good.
Yeah, I would like to get my hands on those comics, as I've said before. To Yeah, TJ's got them all on display there. The
I just
ones
went
he's
on
got.
eBay. I got a hardcover version of one of these
Uh-huh.
collections, and I had to pay a couple of
TJ's not even gonna tell us how much he paid for
Well, they
it.
came so all of these are in print. You can buy them on Amazon for the most part. There's a few of them that aren't available,
Right.
um, but for the most part, each of the different like the shock suspense and even the I want to buy some of the sci-fi ones because the sci-fi ones are cool. Do you remember that car? There was Tim Burton's what was that? How can I? What was the space movie that Tim Burton did?
Uh,
Not War of the Worlds. Um,
I'm drawing a blank.
what's the hell's that movie?
TJ's gonna have to look it up.
Yeah, boy. I'm gonna start taking ginkgo biloba because I don't think.
Yeah, I think I need to as well.
What was that damn? What was that damn?
And then when TJ finds it out, he's probably gonna be like, "Oh,
I'm already pissed off that I don't know it. So, Mars Attacks. Holy shit.
that's right."
Mars Attacks was cards before it was a movie.
Mm-hmm.
It was a card series. So the guy who did the Weird Science and Weird Fantasy EC Comics later created the Mars Attacks story. And you can see the artwork and you compare it, and it's like, oh, so
is that the one that the aliens look like they got gigantic brains or something?
They can't talk; they go ack ack. But yeah, so I want to get some of those, which I haven't gotten any of those yet because I was going through all the horror stuff first.
Right.
But yeah, so like I said, most of them available. The hardcovers are not available. You have to get them through like a second hand, so it's mostly eBay. I think they stopped. They reprinted them all, but they stopped it around, I don't know, 10 years ago or something like that. Okay. So anything you get is whatever stock is left. So one day they might not be available anymore. You might only get.
So if you want them, you better,
But a lot of them are on Amazon if you want to. I don't know if you want to give money to Amazon, but then again, I don't know yet. You have any local comic shops over in Louisville you can.
I think we do, but the thing would be, because I don't drive, would be getting Steve to go there, and that would be, I don't know, depending on the day, he might be sure, yeah, I'll take you, or why don't we wait till next weekend, and then it'll be, why don't we wait till the next weekend?
You want to get him some rape comics. You want to see him pick out the best one.
Oh God.
Anyway, yeah, but
Super Batman Nerd does say that you were correct about the movie being 7. And he said the line was, "What's in the box?" And I remember Uncle Bill doing that thing. "What's in the box?" He's done that several times.
I couldn't remember Mars Attacks. You think I would have remembered box and bag?
Blissel says thriftbook.com. You could find the missing books from the series. Yeah, I keep forgetting about that site. Blissful's mentioned it several times, and Uncle Bill was in here a little bit earlier. I don't know if he's still in here. He's at 9:28. He says, "Y'all a quarter of the way through this episode, huh?" Russell was in here. But anyway, moving on to the next to last episode we're going to talk about tonight. This is Here Today, Gone Tomorrow. Now, this was the one with a lot of nudity in it. Or, I mean, it was like up in your face nudity, female nudity.
I didn't expect it, so I was shocked. I was like, she just fully undresses. Like, she's totally butt-ass naked in this.
And you see a good shot of her ass, you know.
You see everything.
You see, I don't think
she's shadowed lower frontal area, but you see the breasts.
But everything else. But I don't think those breasts are real.
Oh no.
Because they were standing at attention. They were not moving.
No one who watches this will care. It's okay. You know who
they won't. They won't care.
She's Gretchen Palmer. She's in Wishmaster. She's the woman that gets turned into a mannequin.
Mm-hmm.
Remember when he goes to the department store and, yeah.
Super Batman Nerd says, "Damn it." I guess maybe because some of it was in shadow, or else because her boobs weren't real. I don't know. But I'm like you, TJ. I don't think any guys are going to care. They're going to be like boobies, and ass, with female ass. We're going to get crazy. I was kind of shocked because I didn't expect like her to be fully nude.
No.
And it was like,
I have sex with that guy, much less. I'm not saying he's ugly, but he ain't attractive.
He got more suave after they had sex, but
yes.
But anyway, the story I thought was slightly goofy though. I mean, I
It's
started
comedic. I think it's supposed to be.
right. It started out that it was sort of like one of those film noir, like
It's got
crime.
that music, that
Yeah,
saxophone, that sexy sax.
and then it took a different turn. And somebody else that's in this is Richard Johnson. Richard Johnson turns up in this, and Richard Johnson is not a very nice guy in in this episode.
Yeah.
Uh, but I'm gonna let TJ start talking about Ear Today, Gone Tomorrow.
Oh, that's right, Dr. Menard. How did I not remember that?
Yeah, yeah. I was like, Richard Johnson's in this.
It didn't like come off to me as him for some reason. Because he wasn't all scratch. He didn't have the beard and the.
And
Uh,
he wasn't. He tell the crew the boat can leave. He wasn't doing that.
he's British though. I mean, I know the accents.
Yeah.
Whatever. So it starts off with the Crypt Keeper. He's a what is it? Sleigh Mart employee.
Oh yeah.
And he's like, I'm sorry, ma'am, if your skin fell off because of the cream I suggested. And it's like a skeleton with all stuff coming off of her, which I thought was cute. Sharp S smart. Yeah. We have this safe cracker who's trying to crack a safe. We find out he's being tested by this this rich guy who he owes money to, that he's taken him out of jail to sort of get payback for what he owed him, because he's a gamble. He's not even a safe cracker. He's a gambler, and he just gambles all. One of those gamblers who just gambles everything away because he's always waiting for the big score, and even if it doesn't come. So he's trying to pay back this sort of loan shark guy, and we have his sexy wife, Kate, and she's all slinky and sexy, and there's something a little bit weird about her, but you can't really see that at first. And then they sort of have this like the not assistant, he's like the guy that roughs you up, if the guy who holds the gun and roughs you up if you don't do what the guy tells you, that kind of the lackey type of guy.
Uh-huh.
He's like, oh, he shows his eyes. He's like, thank you, ma'am, for these glasses and for these eyes. And we're like, we don't know what it's about yet because we don't really see anything because they're sort of dark. You can't really see his eyes. So the husband and wife make a bet. Because the safecracker, he had an accident where he was caught and got beat in the head, and he lost his hearing, so he can't hear the tumblers anymore. So he can't properly break into a safe, even though he's sort of healed. So Kate decides, hey, I'm going to make a bet with my husband. We don't really know what the bet is exactly, but we think it's to see if we can get him, the safecracker's confidence back. So the husband goes on a business trip, with his lackey there, probably to rough up some people, and he's like, okay, I'm gonna give you a chance, but if you don't live up to my expectations, you're dead. That's the deal. So the wife's like, I know what plastic, because we talk about her having a plastic surgeon, and she looks this way because of the surgeries that her rich husband has, given her and all that stuff, which makes sense. Fake breasts.
Right. Yeah. Richard Johnson paid for those breasts.
Yeah. So she's like, all right, my doctor, he can fix your hearing so you'll be able to hear and blah blah blah, and you'll be grateful to me, and I'll get she promises him the world basically. So we get taken to this. He looks sort of normal. His hair is white hair, but he's not. His hair isn't all crazy right now. It's sort of tied back, and he's dressed in a suit, and he's like, yes, we'll do this operation, and you'll be able to hear, and blah blah blah. So we're learning that he uses animal parts for these surgeries, And you've heard like they use pig valves and stuff for hearts and stuff like that. So it's not that far fetched.
And insulin from pigs for people
Yeah.
for diabetic, and he brings that up too.
So at one point he meets Kate, and she has gotten new eyes, and they're literally cat eyes.
Yeah.
Because he's been the doctor has given her cat eyes.
It's bizarre looking. I couldn't take my eyes off her eyes the rest of the episode.
Also, they throw in like sounds of like a cat sound, like there's like she does something and you hear wow, like it doesn't come from her specific like out of her mouth, but it's like it emanates from her, which is it's weird. But I like weird. I mean, that's not a big thing. So anyway, he sort of passes out and he has the ears done. So the doctor has replaced his hearing with an owl audio audio system or whatever you call it, and he has to get with these headphones because at first he's got to get used to the new ears because as soon as he comes out of the anesthesia, all he hears is this loud echo. And he's like,
Yeah.
oh, he's in pain because it's so loud. And the doctor, meanwhile, his hair is all crazy now.
Yeah, now he looks like a mad scientist.
Yeah. So, like, yeah, he's replaced his hearing with, owl hearing. So it's the next day. He's at breakfast with Kate, and she's like, how are you feeling now? And he's great. And then he starts hearing things like he can hear her breathing, and she's smoking a cigarette. Where I guess this should be smoke rings because she's smoking a cigarette.
Yeah, exactly.
And he can hear her go. It's very ASMR, but like to the extreme. And his hearing's just sort of getting used to.
And her heart's beating like super fast.
Yeah, and she starts coughing, and he's like, "Oh, you gonna stop smoking, or you're gonna die?" And she's like, "You don't worry about me, and you're not here to worry about me. I don't, stay out of this." Of course, when does the sex scene happen? Before the breakfast or after breakfast? I can't remember now.
I want to say before, but I could be wrong.
Yeah, it's before the operation.
Yeah.
She's like, "You're nothing to look at," but after she gets the cat's eyes, she gets extra horny for some reason. I guess
Yeah.
Cats are maybe the cat was in heat when she got the eyes. I don't know. But that's when she disrobes and we see almost everything.
Yep, just about.
And then he has the operation, and then it's the next morning. And she's like, "Okay, we'll put your hearing to use. We're gonna steal my husband's money." And he's like, "Oh," he's got, like I said, he's got his confidence back, so he's more like, "Yeah, I'm gonna do it." Before he was a little bit more timid. Now he's like, "Yeah, I'll do anything right now," because he's living for the high of the gamble and all that stuff. Because this is more about addiction. The episode's about addiction, I'd say.
They should have had one of those public service things that if you or someone you love has a gambling problem, you've seen those things.
I mean, he's addicted to gambling. She's addicted to plastic surgery. It's all that kind of thing. So he breaks into this. He breaks into the big safe with all the big money. There's a safe on the wall, and she's like, "That's nothing. We're gonna get to the big safe." And, and she's like, "We'll take the money, and I'll make sure I give you a lot of money. Don't worry about it." He's like, "No, I want it all," and shoots her.
Yeah. And she coughs up a hairball.
Which is gross. First, I was like, "Is she like a slug or something? Is this like Night of the Creeps? Is this like an alien slug?" Oh, here's my Monster Squad shirt.
I like it.
Oh, it's got back to it.
Oh, that's cool.
The arm.
Where'd you get that one, TJ?
I might have been Cavity Colors or the other one. I can't remember the other one. But so he shoots her. She dies. Coughs up a hairball, which is hilarious and gross at the same time. Grolarious. That's my word. I just made up a word. And he's leaving with the 2 suitcases full of money. He drops one. He goes, I hate it when that happens. Who shows up? Mr. Husband shows up. It seems the bet was to see if he would rat her out or basically, turn on her and take all the money for himself. Because he even says, he's like, gamblers don't just want to win, they want everything.
Right.
And so it was like, that was the bet, was to see, she thought he would go with her and be on her side, and the husband's like, no, he's going to double cross you, which the husband was right. And then the scientist guy comes in and he goes, I didn't just give you the hearing of an owl. And then all of a sudden he starts coughing up feathers, and then his face rips open and a beak pops out, which I was like, I wasn't expecting that either. The nudity was more of a shock, but this was like, whoa, I wasn't expecting this giant beak to come out of his face. And I was like, what owls are that big? But anyway.
Here, I'll actually show everybody.
Oh, yeah, that's right. It's on the
thing from that. There you go.
And he's basically, for some reason he's incapacitated because he sort of like falls over and whatever. And so he wakes up on the operating table. And she's like, see, in our business, you need 9 lives. And that's also what, she didn't just get the cat's eyes. She got the 9 lives from the
when
cat.
she showed back up, I was like, oh God, she's got 9 lives like the cat's supposed to.
And they're like, what happened to the lackey dude? And she's like, how do you think I got the eyes back?
Right, exactly.
So they just use people and throw them away for the scientists to basically do experiments. And this is what he was basically there for another experiment for the doctor.
Right. Yeah, and he's enjoying it way too much.
Yeah. And they're like, sorry, honey, but, she's like, sorry, honey, but we're going to go and you're going to get cut up for parts. And we get the scene where the mad scientist is over him with the saw drill thing or whatever, and he's like, and he's doing one of those crazy ass mad scientist stares, and yeah.
But I gotta ask you, TJ, if you saw this when they were doing the deed, when she got naked and was climbing on top of him and stuff. Did you see Richard Johnson's character in the background, like looking at him?
Yes.
Okay. Because I guess I'm assuming he never left. He never went out of town or whatever, because they had this all planned.
Yeah.
But I'm wondering if he was a little agitated that his wife just disrobed and hopped onto this guy,
I think they were doing this a lot. I'm gonna guess the guy at the beginning probably might have had sex with her too.
Yeah, everybody was having sex with her.
It's like, thanks for the eyes, like you seem.
But I liked it overall, but it did get a little silly, especially when the owl beak and stuff pushed out of the guy's face. And the mad scientist.
And the guy goes, it's whom?
Yeah, exactly. So it was kind of uneven for me. I didn't all out hate it, but there were some parts of it that I was like, okay, you're getting a little silly.
Because her character, she played it very like, I am going to talk like this because I am over exaggerating everything, and I am, I think, not that she was bad. It's just like the way everybody else was playing it. It didn't seem like that was uneven too. Like all the characters should be acting in the same movie.
Yeah, they were like the straight man, and she was just going way, way over the top. Yeah. Now, as far as the comic, I know they couldn't have that naked chick.
They never did nudity in the.
So I'm assuming that this is going to be at least a little bit different.
So, in the comic episode, Haunt of Fear 11. Um, Volume 2, if you want to buy the if you want to buy the comic. Um, uh, Volumes. Volume 2 is this episode's in Volume 2. I should have did it all the way through, but whatever. It doesn't. I'm not going to go through them again. Anyway, so these two guys, they own a fertilizer company, and they've been borrowing money from different people, and now no one wants to give them money anymore because they haven't been paying it back. They decide to raid the local cemetery and grind up the bones and use it as fertilizer. They call bone meal, which I don't know if bone meal is a real thing or not.
I mean, it sounds like it would be, but well, let's just look it up, shall we? Because I'm kind of curious. There is some bone meal powder.
Okay, that's what they make bone meal out of the bones. They grind it into powder for fertilizer.
Oh, it's coarsely ground animal bones and slaughterhouse waste products.
Oh.
It's used as a dietary supplement too.
I wouldn't put that in my mouth, but okay.
No, I wouldn't either.
That's sick. Okay, anyway, like I said, they raid the local cemetery. They start selling it to farmers because farmers don't go through anything. They don't care. And they become successful. They have the most successful fertilizer company. They decide we're going to take a vacation, so they drive off together, and they come across this farm. I forget, they run out of gas or whatever. They come across this farm, and they get attacked by the corn in the cornfields. And the cornfield attacks them and kills them. Well, we find out that the fertilizer was bought by this farm, and the ghosts, I guess, that were attached to the bones, the fertilizer possessed it's a little. If we think this episode's a little far fetched, this whole story is a little far fetched.
Yeah, but I would have liked to seen them do something with that, with the corn attacking them.
So Ear Today, God Tomorrow is funny because ears of corn, which is the ending, is the twist is the corn attacking them. Yeah, it's like Jordy Verrill.
Yeah,
like it's an agricultural creature. I'm not gonna say I'm not gonna bring up M. Night Shyamalan because that movie was terrible. Mark Wahlberg's a good actor. I don't know what he was doing in that movie. Was he just did Shyamalan go? Hey,
he was slumming it, I guess. I don't know.
Just say the words like "you're stupid." I mean, I don't know.
Blissful says that I guess she's talking about the bone meal. You put it in soil, especially flowering bulbs like tulips, which I wouldn't have a problem with doing that. But as a dietary supplement, I wouldn't want to put that inside my body.
Also, it's a little poltergeist with the cemetery and the ghosts of the people who died. Their bones are still in the ground. That's why they haunted the house.
Right.
Until the sequel, when they turned it into an ancient burial ground, which I was like, you didn't really need to do that, but forget that.
You need Craig T. Nelson saying you moved the headstones, but you didn't move the bodies.
Damn!
But yeah, moving on to the final episode, which this has got to be an original thing. They kind of twisted the Three Little Pigs story to fit this. So I'm assuming there was never any.
No, there's no comic now.
That
I think they did some fairy tales, but I don't know. There's nothing to do with the episode. So yeah, there's going to be no comparison here.
And these are, except for Dudley, all they're not just generic Three Little Pigs. You've got Dudley, Drinky, and Smokey.
Yes,
the Three Little Pigs, and Dudley's the smart one.
Yeah,
he's the one that builds his house out of brick, and his two brothers, Drinky and Smokey, they just are layabouts. They just they just sit around and drink and smoke
Yeah.
and vomit and all that stuff. But
I spotted one voice right away. I knew exactly who it was. Brad Garrett plays.
oh yeah,
Brad Garrett from Everybody Loves Raymond played Drinky. I was like, he's not even doing a voice. He's being Brad Garrett. And then Charlie Adler did Smokey. Charlie Adler's done tons of cartoons. He did Cow and Chicken. He did Our Real Monsters. He did a ton of other things. And Bobcat Goldthwait plays the big bad wolf.
I knew his voice right off, but you can't miss his voice.
This was old Bobcat. What he used to do?
You're right, exactly. It's like you could hear Sam Kinnison's voice, even if he wasn't going you knew it was Sam Kinnison. So Bobcat Goldthwait's voice as well. But this is not your mother's fairy tale. I'll just say that.
It's a mixture of like remember old Looney Tunes when they used to have the sexy girls and they drew them really voluptuous and stuff like that? It's got that. It's got Ren and Stimpy type of gross out humor with the guts and the stuff like that, and it's adult. Like I said, there's smoking and drinking. Like this would not have been on the Tales from the Crypt Keeper cartoon. This would not have.
No, this one or that thing would have been off the air quicker than it was if they had showed that. But anyway, I'm gonna turn it over to TJ to talk about the third pig.
It starts off simple with the three pigs. Everybody knows the story. the house of straw, house of wood, and a house of bricks. Well, in this one, Bobcat Goldthwait, the big bad wolf, he blows down the first two houses, no problem. He can't blow down this third house. So that's owned by Dudley. Ooh, Dudley talks like this. This kind of I'm smart, but I talk weird. It's like his voice was kind of grating. All voices were grating, but his one was especially grating because he's sort of the main character, so you hear his voice the most.
Right.
And I like it's all the characters rhyme except the big bad wolf. He can't rhyme, and he gets so pissed off.
And he gets mad. Yeah.
I don't know how to rhyme. And then the Crypt Keeper is doing the narration. And he yells at him at one point, "You're not rhyming either." So don't talk to me about not being able to rhyme, that's a great. This is all funny throughout the whole thing. So this is not like there's no level. It's all funny for the whole.
Right.
So they're so like I said, the big bad wolf can't get into the third house, but meanwhile, Drinky and Smokey are just drinking up all his beer. They're giving their brother a hard time, and then even when they go to town, they sort of treat him like a jerk in front of everybody. And he's like, "I want to get my brothers out of here." But he doesn't really do anything about it. He's just sort of one of those people that he lets everybody walk all over him, and he's like, "They're my brother."
He vacuums and just lifts up the couch with them on it and vacuums under it because they won't move because they're lazy.
These are all classic sight gags, and they're all funny in the episode. So he goes out to get some more beer and smokes and whatever. Well, the big bad wolf ends up getting in. He kills them. He kills the two pigs. He rips them apart and eats part of them. And is like, the heads are on the ground and parts of the body, and there's guts all over the place.
There's hands, laying around, or hooves, or whatever you want to call them.
So Dudley comes back. He calls the cops, and he's like, "My brothers have been killed. The wolf has killed them." And okay, it's like 11 hours later, and the cops come back, and I'm watching, and I go, "Yeah, that sounds right."
And here's a question I have: why is every freaking character but the pigs wolves? They're all wolves.
So all the cops are wolves. The jury are wolves. The judge is
a wolf.
Yeah, everybody's a wolf. There's one part where they're at a bar. You see like a bunny rabbit, but it's mostly there's 3 pigs and a bunch of wolves. That's all that exists basically in this world.
Why would they even like if this was just a town that had wolves in it except for them. Why don't they just try moving somewhere else? But then there would be no
I don't know if
story,
it's
I
a
guess.
deliberate thing, but I think it's one of those like stories where like where it's like a whole town, and then these strangers come, and then the strangers are always the outcasts, and but all
Right.
the town is connected, and they all know each other, and if somebody my brother's my cousin's sister's uncle's brother's sister, so we all are family, so we don't turn on family. It's like one of those kind of things, I think, but they're making a joke out of it. Um, but it's like he can't cut a break because everybody's a wolf, but who's in authority. He ends up going to jail for the murder of his two brothers because the big bad wolf's like, I didn't do anything. Um, oh, where the sexy women come in. There's the point where the how the wolf gets into the house is that he holds up a play pig or something
Yeah.
magazine where the sexy pig lady is like in a bikini or whatever, and he holds it up to the door, and then the because the pigs are short, they grab the the can't think of words. The peephole, and he pulls it
Yeah.
down so he can look in it, but having them
Yeah,
go.
exactly. Pulls it down the floor almost.
And he's looking at it, and the woman starts talking. I'm like, okay, it's a cartoon, so you got to give it some.
Well, I wonder if it's because they were intoxicated all or was it Drinky that went up to the because
Um,
he probably would have been intoxicated.
is it Drinky?
And maybe Smokey
It's
wasn't just
Smokey. No, Smokey goes up to the.
well, maybe Smokey was smoking something other than cigarettes or
Yeah,
something.
we don't see it. We don't get that. So yeah, so the sexy pig lady is the mouth's moving because it's a photo. Maybe if like the wolf had his lips up to but he's just holding it when you see him from behind.
Right.
They show him doing the voice of the sexy lady, but it sounds like Bobcat Goldthwait. Anyway, so yeah, he ends up in jail. His brother's ghosts come to the jail, and
Mm-hmm.
they break him out of prison. And they're like, go to this castle. You'll find everything you need to make this giant pig zombie monster to take revenge on the werewolf and avenge our debts. And he's all for it. And they do the whole Frankenstein mad scientist. He dresses in the lab coat and all that stuff. And he creates the pig monster that goes out and he kills the wolf, turns him into like a turkey or whatever, and eats him, and then goes back to the pig guy,
Mm-hmm.
and Dudley starts having second thoughts. He's like, "No, I've created a monster, and he's gonna destroy everything, and I have to stop him because I've created this evil monster, and I gotta stop him so he doesn't kill anybody else." Meanwhile, I'm thinking, wouldn't he just come back and go, "Hey, I killed the wolf. Everything's all set." But no, it's a cartoon, so whatever. This is where I'll give you a lot of leeway. It's different than an episode that it's a
Right.
cartoon than like a huge, like a episode with real people acting. But then again, TJ, it's all fantasy. You should just shut up. But anyway, but anyway,
No, you can have an opinion about it. I definitely have opinions.
so the pig monster comes back. And the pig monster comes through the door, and he like jumps on the pig monster, and he just like stabs it with the knife. He doesn't give one of those really quick stabbing things. Anyway, there's a big fight, and they throw in a bunch of jokes and stuff. And then the pig monster gets thrown into like all the electrical equipment, and he gets all fried up into like a fried pig on a plate. And then Dudley's like, "Oh, it's finally over," but no, the wolf is now alive, rips through the dead pig monster, and eats Dudley, and it's a happy ending for the wolf. So,
Yeah.
I didn't.
Why I don't know, but
I mean, yeah. So yeah, that's the end of the episode. Now, my thing. I like the episode, and like the other episode where the ending was just kind of like goofy. I was like, even though it's a cartoon and stuff like that, it is a Tales from the Crypt, and the Dudley being punished and killed at the end, and the wolf, who was really the bad guy, sort of. As far as the morality of the ending, I was like, but then I was like, well, yeah, there's that opinion, but then there's also it's a cartoon, it's goofy,
Right.
it's not, and I like at the end where the big bad wolf is like, no, this is the ending I like. This is a happy ending. I like this ending.
Yeah.
But the
Well, it just kind of turned the traditional Three Little Pigs on its head
yes,
in a lot of ways. And I wouldn't recommend showing this to young children because
no,
it's
no, no.
definitely not a cartoon or an animated thing for young children. Definitely for
Well,
adults.
like the original nursery rhyme, everybody the pigs all die at the end of the
Yeah.
right. Don't that? I think yeah, because that's
I
how the
think
nursery was.
so because that stuff was very, very dark originally. A lot of it was very, very dark. They didn't, they didn't play games in the old stories, the
Yeah.
original stuff. Um, but I enjoyed it. I don't know if it should have been the final episode of Tales from the Crypt, though.
Yeah.
What do you think, TJ?
Well, it sort of brings it, like I was saying earlier, it brings it full circle that the original series was from a comic. So for the last episode to do
Yeah.
a cartoon makes sense in that way. Yeah, I don't know what episode you would have, if you would you have kept it in the series at all, or are you saying as far?
Oh yeah, I would have had it in there, and I see what you're saying that it came full circle,
Yeah.
but I
What
don't
would you have
know.
put last?
Mm, out of these or out of any of them?
I'd say out of the season, let's
Out of
say
this
the whole
season.
season, what would you have put last?
Um, Let me look back over some of these because. I don't know. Wouldn't it have been cool if they, and you may disagree with me on this, if they had had the report from the grave, like at the end, like this is our finale, this is how we're gonna, with something that I know all this stuff originated from comic books, but as we said earlier, that story was kind of a classic um, Tales from the Crypt type of story.
Yeah.
So if they had done that one last and maybe had the Three Little Pigs somewhere in the middle, where they would have still had it, but I think
Yeah.
that the series would have ended on a bang, so to speak, if they had had that report from the grave as the last one.
Yeah, I would go to that. That makes sense to me. Um, I do,
I
yeah.
mean,
As far as especially the way it ends, it sort of ends not happy, but it's sort of like they're off together in the netherworld fighting demons together. I mean,
mhm.
if you're into that sappy stuff, I think no. But
I just think it would have been a better send off to the
yeah,
series. Um,
yeah.
and so we have reached the end of all 7 seasons of Tales from the Crypt.
Only 36 years later, we finally.
Oh, good Lord. Don't give CK and Uncle Bill any more.
Now, how much time were we actually talking about the episodes, and how much time were we just talking about in general stuff?
I think we were talking about the episodes on average 10 to 15 minutes, about 15 minutes for each episode.
Yeah.
Thank you, Blissful. Blissful said we did a great job.
Thank you, Loretta.
Yeah, you're gonna be like CK and just
Hey, he can do it. I can do it.
exactly. She'll take it all in stride. Blissful's good about that.
By the way, the Creep Show. There's 4 seasons and there's 25 episodes. One season's only 5 episodes. The other ones are 6 apiece.
Yep.
So
Now, this season 1 that we're going to start covering has 12 episodes. So TJ, 6 and 6 is cool
Well,
with you.
it's technically one episode with two stories, right? So
Well, I guess so. So maybe
how long are the full show?
that's what I'm trying to remember here. I like that the Blu-rays I got came with this little
Oh,
comic
that's cool.
thing. Um, yeah, I think you're right, TJ. That it's like because the first two episodes are Gray Matter and House of the Head.
Yeah.
Let me see if it thought it might tell me here how long they are. I don't see. And the Gray Matter story, I'm excited to talk about it because it's based on a Stephen King story.
Mm-hmm.
And some people might have thought it was a little silly, but I mean, we'll talk more about it um, next week. But
Well, I heard you said you didn't like the suitcase one. I kind of like that one.
I hated that one.
Why did
Yeah,
you
the
hate it?
man in the suitcase.
We'll talk about it when we do it. Like,
Yeah,
I
yeah,
can't
you'll
remember
hear
what
me
movie.
complain about it. Yeah, I was like, because they had the All Hallows Eve, and then they had the man in the suitcase. I'm like, what the?
Mm.
Um,
I like the one with Adrian Barbeau. That one I remember. That one because I technically didn't really see more than the first couple episodes. So all of these will be new to me. So
yeah, well, a lot of this stuff is going to be new to me because for whatever reason, after the first season, I kind of dropped in and out of it for a while, and then completely dropped out of it. So
yeah.
I'm going to be seeing a lot of it fresh. I think Blissful's got the emoji with sticking her tongue out there. But yeah, so that's what we'll be doing. We may not be doing like 6. We may be doing what if it's 2 episodes.
2 episodes will be 4 stories, right? So
Right.
and Steve and everybody will be like, "We're dragging the show out.
Yes.
The whole season got it over with, but no, you gotta do separate episodes." I'm not making fun of the Southern accent. It just ended up getting Southern. I'm sorry.
That's all right. That's fine. Um, but anyway, we'll be back next week with that. I'm going to try to figure out how long each one of these is, and then I'm going to get with TJ and we'll work out all the details of
I'll
it.
replace this with my Creep Show comic book from the.
There you go.
I
Yeah.
have two of those. I have an original,
Uh huh.
and then I think they did a reprinting or whatever. There's one that has Stephen King's face on the back with a beard, and it's like black and white.
I think that's the one I have.
And then there was a newer one, and I got one for Christmas, and I was like, why did they change the photo? I don't know.
Yeah,
It was more
that's.
spooky with the Stephen King.
Mm. Well, speaking of, and I don't know if I talked about this with you, but I talked about it with somebody. That damn Maximum Overdrive trailer. That is the scariest shit ever. And that movie ain't even that scary.
Yeah.
But Stephen King is scary in it,
Mm-hmm. Well,
with his eyes
a lot of things.
and pointing at the screen saying, I'm gonna scare the hell out of you. And then it's like, oh holy crap, what is he, what are we gonna be watching here? Um, but anyway, everybody, be sure to tune in tomorrow night when I do my triple threat review show and talk about three more movies from my shelves. But I want to thank TJ for being on here with me and continuing to be on here with me, even though sometimes it's painful to get through some of these things.
This last season wasn't as bad as the last season of Friday the 13th, the series.
No, God, I
We'll
thought
always
I
bring
was
up when
going
we
to
talk about bad
die.
seasons.
That was a bad idea on my part. Don't ever let me do that. Talk anybody into doing that with me again.
Okay.
Sir Batman Nerd says you guys can make fun of them when they did the 80s slashers trailers. Yeah, yeah, we could. But I want to thank everybody that was in the chat tonight. We had quite a few people here in the chat.
Here's the chat. It's over there.
Yeah.
I figured out how to point now that I'm backwards. There you go. There's the chat.
Yeah, I'm like, what do I need to how do I
It's the
need to
opposite
point?
of where you're supposed to point, and that's where it's the right way.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. See, I can do it too.
You're pointing to me. Thank you.
Well, it's
Don't point.
transferring
Don't
through
point to
you
me.
and going to the chat too.
Don't you point to me.
But anyway, uh, we're gonna get out of here for the night. We did this in less than 2 hours, TJ. We should get kudos for that,
Woo!
I think.
Now, if anybody brings anything up, I ain't saying anybody's name specifically. They can shut up. No.
So Baby Nerd said they did 10 parts to that 80 slashers trailers. Wow, I didn't realize that they did that. But anyway, everybody have a good night, and I'm gonna do the thing that TJ likes. I'm gonna skedaddle on out of here for now, or me and TJ are, and we'll see everybody on the flip side. Y'all have a good night now, and I'll
Hi,
see you
guys.
next time.
Night, Dana.
Good night, TJ. Good night, chat.